This lesson is called Micro World, Macro Wow, where students will discover all about microorganisms and how they live their lives. So their objectives, by the end of the lesson they'll be able to describe what life is like for living things 1 inch tall, list their 5 basic needs, compare how large and small animals, organisms fill those basic needs, as well as explain what it would be like to be 1 inch tall. So to start the lesson, you want to have the students make finger puppets or something like this to help them when we go outside for a small nature hike to discover what it would be like to be 1 inch tall. So you want to do that possibly in Becker Lodge, where we're at right now, because this is where we have all the crafts and supplies for making finger puppets. So after you're done making the finger puppets, you want to head outside and have a little discussion with the students about what it would be like to be 1 inch tall and what sort of creatures are around that would be 1 inch tall. And one way you can get their mind set on this to help them imagine being 1 inch tall is you have them lay back and close their eyes and tell them you're sprinkling magic dust on them. So that way they will be 1 inch tall after they open their eyes. So after you sprinkle the magic dust on the students and make them feel like they're 1 inch tall, bring up the topics of the 5 basic needs, so food, air, water, shelter, and living space. And then go on a short hike wherever you feel like it would be a good place to hike. I would suggest over here by the corral and Maple Cabin by the Health Lodge as well. And tell the students that they can dig around using trowels and look for organisms like this. So you can hand out copies of these to all the students, as well as mentioning they might be able to see some of these smaller organisms, and there's also a few other pictures provided in the lesson bin. So then after that, bring up the things that have the students answer what they found and what those organisms were doing or how they could use that area. And then after completing that, bring up a discussion about what nature trails are and describe that they are well-worn paths, usually with markers along them to point out interesting things. Okay, so after you talk with the students about what nature trails are, explain to them that they and their finger puppets are going to be making a nature trail that would be interesting for small animals, small creatures. So you split the students up into groups of 2, give them one of these, which is 20 feet or so of string on a stick, and this will represent the path of the trail that they're going to be following. And you also give them popsicle sticks to use as markers of points of interest and places that microorganisms would like to be or use. So looking under logs and things like that would be good, and to help them along that path to find interesting things, you hand out magnifying glass and bug cubes. Okay, so this is an example of a single track trail where we have points of interest being the logs for food for some insects. If you look underneath this rock, you'll find other small organisms that they like to use that for shelter. So this is an example of the single track, or you can have things set up previously before the students arrive, so that way they just have to follow a pre-made trail and identify things along that path. So to finish up the lesson, it's always good to review the objectives, so the students should be able to describe what life would be like for an organism approximately 1 inch tall, what those organisms' basic needs are, and be able to compare large organisms versus small organisms and how they obtain their basic needs, and be able to explain what their lives would be like if they were 1 inch tall.